Hey everybody, my name is Mason Drum. Thanks for watching. Today I'm going to talk about how I fastened my puppets to the set of my stop motion short film Indomation, and then after that we're going to take a quick look at the workflow that I used as far as how I remove those puppet wires, how I remove the rigs that I used to hold them up in post-production. So stay tuned and thanks for watching. So this is the Indoraptor figure. It's just a simple action figure made by Mattel. Bought it on Amazon. I think it's like 20 bucks. I got it because it could articulate pretty well considering it was only 20 bucks. Each step I had to screw his foot into the ground. Now with the mannequin, you'll see in a little bit that I was able to glue his feet to the ground. But with the Indoraptor, he was a little bit bigger, and he wasn't, when I wanted to articulate his legs going up, he would fall over to the side. So I really needed something a lot more sturdy that I could keep him locked to the set. And speaking of the set that I used was actually made out of MDF particle board, not this pine wood that you're seeing right now. I just use this piece of wood just for illustrative reasons, but I wanted to make a note of that because if you're going to do something like this and screw your character's foot into the ground over and over and over again, you can see right here, it's pretty difficult. I have to go down and then it lifts the foot up. So I had to go back and then screwed it again and back and screwed it in again. And so it's just not very practical. So if you're gonna use a wood, use a soft wood or particle board. And that really allowed me to be a lot more efficient and worry less about rigging the character to the set, and I could spend more time and energy animating. So when animating, especially in stop motion, you want to make sure that you can put as much energy into the animation process. If you're spending all your time setting up the rig, it can get pretty arduous and overwhelming, and which isn't very conducive to good stop motions. So this is the wooden mannequin, and throughout the film there's actually about 2 or 3 different ways that I was rigging him to the set. At the beginning, when you see him walk on through the front yard on the grass, there's actually like a magnetic plate underneath that green piece of paper, and he has magnets on the bottom of his feet. And so originally I was going to animate him throughout the entire set via magnets, but turns out after animating him for so long, the magnets weren't strong enough to keep his position and to hold his pose. So throughout the film, there are times when I needed to use this little rig to help prop up the characters whenever they weren't holding their form or wanted to fall over or something. And so basically I just get it as far out of frame as I possibly could, and then literally just prop him up against the rig like that. I would later go out and paint away this bar in post-production, but we'll talk more about that process in the second half of this video. Yeah, so whenever he was not in the front yard or being animated on top of that magnetic strip, he was glued to the set using a hot glue gun. Pretty simple. There wasn't really any tricks to it. It's pretty straightforward. Just put a dab of hot glue underneath his foot, and then I was able to animate him. And the guy held his shape, his form pretty well throughout the set. There were times whenever I needed to tighten some of his little hinges and screws, just because the more you animate something, the more loose the parts get. So after you're done doing a walk cycle and he needs to lift up his foot, I would just use this little like paint scraper to pry his foot off the set. So pretty simple. So there were a lot of times throughout the film that I needed to suspend different items in the air, especially during the bathroom sequence. The Indoraptor busts through a door and sends a whole bunch of shards of wood through the air. So in order to do that, I used the balsa wood that the door is made out of, broke it up into little pieces, and then kind of reassembled parts of the door, and then attached all those pieces to soldering wire, and then glued that wire to the floor, being careful not to burn myself, which happened a lot during production. But attaching multiple pieces to one wire really saved me a lot of time during post-production when I had to paint all the wires out. And you can be pretty creative with how you use the soldering wire. There's a kitchen scene where the Indoraptor
kind of tosses a whole bunch of stuff off of a shelf and counter space, and you don't really see it very well. You have to go back and really look because it's only like maybe 4 or 5 frames.
This is the most complicated scene of the whole thing. So he's like in the kitchen, right? And the set is moving. So in between frames, I'm rotating the set, and then I'm moving the set, the little pan, and then he's about to knock all this stuff off and this stuff off at the same time.
Now, when I wanted to make a heavier item like the mannequin, like the little guy, get knocked back or be suspended in the air, there were a couple times when I needed to do that. I would wrap the wire together because it needed to be kind of a heavier gauge or a little bit stronger than just a single piece of soldering wire, and glue, same concept, just glue that to the set, and then it allows me to suspend them in air. So this, in conjunction with all the other pieces of debris suspended in the air, really give that sense of motion and movement in your frame.
All right, so what we're going to be doing, I'm just going to show you again very quickly just like the workflow that I use. So I'm not going to get into how I edited within Photoshop or within Final Cut even, but I just want to show you again the workflow that I use because this is what I found was difficult to find help on online. So let's see here. So here's my timeline for the short film, Indomation. It's full of compound clips. Within the compound clips, you have image sequences. And so what I would do is I would pick, let's not do this one. Let's see here. Let's pick one to, what's going on here? Not that one either. Okay, this is a good one. So what I did was throughout the film, whenever once I was finished editing, I had to identify which parts of the film needed to have wire removal. And so if you look right here, all of these green little markers right here, those are parts of the film that needed to be edited. Every one of these had a wire in it or had a hand in it or something that needed to be fixed. So I made little notes about which parts of the film need to be fixed. And then from there, exported out just that section of the film. So for example, you're going to see right here, this part of the film, the Indoraptor hits the man, and you can see the rig that's holding him up. It is all over the place, right? So what I did was, hit R, which is the export select tool, exported the master file, exported it to my desktop into a folder system that said Photoshop Documents to edit. And so you can see right here, this is literally every clip in the film that I threw into Photoshop to edit out rigs and stuff. So let's find the pizza smash is what I called this. Boom. So it's just that clip right there, because that's all those are the only frames that really needed to be touched in that little part. So from there, I'd grab this and drag it onto Photoshop. Now it's going to open up that scene. And so just by clicking left and right, I would just go frame by frame and edit out parts that need to be edited out using the spot healing brush tool. And that's what I did. Each frame, I'd go through and erase everything that needed to be erased. And right now I'm just doing it really fast just for illustrative purposes. Once I'd finished the sequence, it went through and erased all the rigs in that sequence. I would then export it. Then you go to File, Export, Render Video. Now, I think the main thing for me here that I had to keep in mind was that I exported it into a folder on my desktop that I knew where it was at, because for me, organization is like a huge problem. And I made sure that the frame rate was the document frame rate. It's the original document frame rate, because that's important. You don't want to export out at a different frame rate than what is in your linear editing system. So for me, this was at 30 frames per second. And I'll hit render. I actually won't do that now because I've already done that. And that would send it to a folder system, Photoshop documents edited. And then I would have the, what was it called? Indo Pizza Smash. Then I'd have this same clip, but edited out. There's no rigs. Now you can see my really crappy job. Oh, look, you can still see parts of the rig there. I wasn't too concerned about making sure it was all like super well done, just because I don't have all the time in the world and this is a no budget short film. From there, I would drag it into the Final Cut timeline, which is what you see right here, and place it over the exact spot that it needed to be so it matched up evenly, which is why I made these little markers. And we should have the clip, and there it is. And I did that about 20 times through 20 different sequences about, and each one of these sections right here, that's a sequence that I had to do that with. And so that was the workflow that I had. Yep, pretty much it. I know this probably isn't the most efficient way to do this. I know that there's probably better ways to go about this. If you know of a better way, let me know. I just wanted to share this because I couldn't find any tutorials on how to do that just with like Photoshop or whatever. So if you know of better ways, please let me know. Put it in the comments. Definitely link other YouTube videos, tutorials if you have them. And yeah, thanks so much for watching. And if this was helpful, please give me a thumbs up. It helps my channel. And I'll be back soon with more video content and behind the scenes of Indomation. So thanks again for watching, and peace out. Talk to you later.